Hey everyone, it's Clarinda here, and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk about how I became a digital marketing freelancer. So at the moment, I am I guess you could call a digital nomad. I'm born and raised in Singapore, and I've lived in Australia for a while, but I'm currently in England with my boyfriend, and we are we are converting a van into a camper van so that we can travel Europe when it's safe to do so. At the moment, while I am doing that, or while we are doing that, I am also earning an income as a digital marketing specialist where I work with clients all over the world to help them put together marketing strategies and also execute them while saving them lots of time by making really smart decisions based on data and based on results. I currently charge about an average of $40 per hour for the work that I do, and which is really good because I don't have to work as many hours as a full-timer would need to have enough money to live the lifestyle that I have right now, which is very simple. But I thought it would be a good idea for me to share my story of how I got to where I am, and hopefully that might help some of you who are maybe thinking of becoming a digital marketing freelancer like me to get to where I am today. If you're just starting out, if you just graduated, if you are sick of your career and you're trying to move into digital marketing, hopefully these are some tips. And so let's just get started. I'm going to break my story down into 3 parts. So I'm going to talk about my backstory, my childhood, how I grew up, and I'm going to talk about how I ended up in marketing, and then I'm going to talk about my job. Well, actually, that's 4 parts. How I got my first marketing job, and how I transitioned from my marketing job to a freelancer. And then I'm going to talk about what I'm doing right now. So if you've got any questions for me in regards to digital marketing, I would love to help you. So just put them in the comments and I will respond to you ASAP. It's a brand new channel. I expect like 2 people to be watching this video. So if you comment on there, I definitely will respond. But I'm just putting that out there. So let's just get started. So let's talk about my backstory. I was born and raised in Singapore. I grew up in Singapore from age 0 to 19. I did primary school there, secondary school there. And when I grew up, my life was pretty boring. I grew up in a very conservative Christian environment, and I was a nice girl. I grew up wanting to please everyone. I was very kind, but I was also a little bit of a pushover. So because I wasn't going out clubbing or hanging out with friends, drinking or whatever, I stayed home a lot, and I also went to church every single weekend. So my life was very mundane, and I spent a lot of my time entertaining myself through watching movies and TV. And so when I grew up, my dream job was actually not to be in marketing at all. My dream job was to work in Hollywood. It was like an escape for me, and whenever I saw behind the scenes footage of people in Hollywood making films, it always looked so fun, and I always wanted to be a part of that scene. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but it was definitely something that I wanted to work towards. So when I was in school, I had a hobby of writing stories, writing fan fiction as a child, and I would have these stacks of exercise books with little stories that I used to write with one of my best friends when I was in school. After a bit of research during my secondary school education, I realized that in Singapore they had film production school. They teach you how to make films and TV, and it wasn't expensive at all. So I applied to study film production when I finished my secondary school, and I was lucky enough, because I had a portfolio with my exercise books, to get a scholarship to study film production, which I did so. So while I studied film production, my goal was always to work in Hollywood, get a job in Hollywood. And so at my final year of film production, I managed to land an internship in Los Angeles. I definitely had a lot of help to secure this internship with conversations with my teachers. My teachers had connections to LA, and so they managed to pull some strings, and they really knew that I really wanted to work in LA, and they landed me an internship there, which was extremely amazing. I worked in a independent documentary company, where they basically held events for independent documentary filmmakers, so like film festivals for them. And so I would help them coordinate and market these events in LA. However, their office was actually based in a studio in LA, where they were also filming all these huge TV shows that you've definitely heard of it before. So, for example, the Mad Men writer's office was right across from our office as well. So that was really cool. And my teachers back in Singapore had some connections with some of these video editors, with a video editor in LA who had been at that time editing for a Disney Channel TV show, which I was very lucky to get the opportunity to watch them film while I was doing my internship there. So it was an amazing time for me, and I absolutely loved it. I also did other internships while I was studying film. So I did a talent casting agency internship back in Singapore. And when I finished my education in film production, a lot of my friends decided to jump straight into the film industry. And so they started working as independent contractors, as, sound specialists and musicians and film directors and script writers and all of that. However, I decided that in order for me to get closer to those industries, I needed to network a little bit more out of my country. And so I decided to get a bachelor's degree in marketing and media in Sydney, Australia. And another reason I decided to go to Australia as well was because my ex-boyfriend had been deciding to study there as well. So we just thought we'd go there together. So I did my degree in Sydney, Australia, and continued to do a few more internships over there. So I had the opportunity to work with some bigger TV networks such as Universal, where I was a PA running around on set, doing coffee runs and just helping out. I then landed my first full-time role in the film TV industry as a production assistant at an independent virtual reality production studio. And that was amazing because I was actually getting paid to do what I wanted to do. And even though it wasn't exactly the role that I wanted, it was definitely a direction towards that. It provided me a new network of people within the industry, and the film and TV industry within Sydney is quite small, but everyone pretty much knows each other. So if you make some network in there, you usually can find your way around. And that was my plan at the time. When I first started that job, I wasn't really sure what direction to take, however, because I loved all aspects of filmmaking, right? I liked video editing. I wanted to double in directing, even though I had no confidence to do so. I was never really interested in camera work, but I liked a little bit of producing as well because I was quite an analytical person and I enjoyed looking at numbers and getting organized. The problem about the TV industry is usually when you want to go far, you do have to specialize in something. And it was a decision that I just couldn't make when I was a PA. And I was watching all these amazing people make these films around me. And I got to experiment with different technology in the VR space as well. And I watched people and their processes and how they created films, but I just couldn't make a decision. And there was just something that just wasn't sitting right with me. I realized during that time working there that I wasn't an extremely creative person, even though I wanted to be. I really loved planning and numbers and analytics, and that was just something that you don't really do in the film industry. And at the same time, because I was a production assistant, I didn't really get to do lots of creative work. I was doing mainly a lot of admin stuff, doing coffee runs, and I was too impatient to hustle. So I got bored over time, and while that was happening, I was still with my ex-boyfriend at the time, and we wanted to save up for a house in Australia. And so I was also wanting to find ways to earn more money in the online space outside of my job to save up for a house quicker. So when I went home, because I had all this mental energy that I hadn't used at work, I would go home and learn about passive income, how to make money online, how to start an online business, and which got me really excited. And so my very first project that I worked on, my first side hustle, was a drop shipping store. Now, if anyone wants to know what drop shipping is, there's lots of free videos online on YouTube that you can check out. So I'll leave you to do that. But basically, that whole thing was a flop, basically because I knew nothing about marketing. I didn't know how to track my results. I didn't know how to measure anything. I didn't know how to make sales. And I just didn't understand anything, and it was very overwhelming for me. So because of that, I decided I needed to learn a little bit more about marketing, and I did lots of online research to learn things like SEO, running advertising, how to optimize your products, and all of that information actually came really useful in the long run. So I continued to work at that company for 8 months, and unfortunately, due to some financial reasons with the company, I was let go along with a few other people at the company, unfortunately. And I thought I would take that opportunity to teach myself everything I could with all this free time I have now about marketing and start my online business so that I could be really successful while working online on my own business. It just seemed really attractive and really easy at the time. Additionally, I also had a lot of savings because I had been saving up for a house, but I thought might be worth learning to start my own business. So I ended up shifting the funds from my house savings into my online business. And at that point of time, my ex-partner and I were not doing too great relationship-wise as well, so I didn't really see any point in continuing to save up for our house. Okie dokes, moving on to my very first job in marketing. So because I had been working online, starting my online business for 3 months, I started a few separate side hustles on the way. My first one was that online store. And then I tried a second online store, which was selling wooden sunglasses, and I implemented a new strategy I learned called influencer marketing, where you would reach out to micro influencers who had with small following, and you would give them free product in exchange for some promotion. So that was a method that I tried with the wooden sunglasses, and that worked for a while, and I earned a little bit of money from that. But once again, I didn't feel like I was really passionate about wooden sunglasses, and that flopped as well. The third thing I did was start a blog. My third side hustle was a blog where I would interview successful millennial entrepreneurs in the online space. So when I first started learning about marketing, I joined a lot of Facebook groups where all these hustlers or entrepreneurs would share how they grew up to where they be, or it would just be a community of all these people wanting to start online businesses like me, or some who had already been really successful doing what they did. So it was a combination of business owners that did online dropshipping stores, blogs, online courses, affiliate marketing. There was just a whole range of different people doing a bunch of different things. Very exciting stuff. And I thought, since I had this network, why not interview these people and learn about how they became really successful at their young age? So I did that. I did a few interviews with a few people and put them up on my blog. The trouble was that I wasn't getting a lot of traffic, and it wasn't really making me any money. It was a hobby. It wasn't going to make me any money. And I didn't know how to market those blogs properly. I implemented some really basic SEO strategies that I learned online, but I still wasn't seeing any traffic. And this is something that I only learned how to implement properly when I ended up working in marketing. So the 3 side hustles that I experimented with basically all flopped in the space of 3 months. And because I was not actually earning an income, my savings died really quickly. And so, it wasn't dying quickly, but I could see it just draining constantly without having any new income coming in. And I started to panic a little bit, and I thought, well, if I want to have a successful business, I probably need to learn how to do marketing to make sales. And so I decided, well, if I need to learn marketing and I also need to make an income, why not try to get a junior level job in the marketing space? And that way I would both make an income and then also learn how to do marketing. And so my first step was to apply to some marketing roles online that seemed really interesting to me. So in particular, I wanted to learn about SEO, so I was looking at roles that offered training in SEO. Luckily enough for me, when I applied to my very first job online, I think it was either on Seek or Indeed.com, I was offered an interview the very next week. And I went into the interview with no experience whatsoever in marketing. And when they asked me questions about my experience, all I did was talk about my own side hustles, how I tried to start up a few different businesses, and what I implemented on there and what I learned along the way. For some reason, they found that really attractive and invited me back for a second interview where I was asked to do a SEO presentation on one of the clients they had provided to me in the form of a case study. So just based on my theoretical knowledge that I learned for free online via YouTube, Facebook groups, blogs, so on and so forth, I put together a presentation, presented that, and for some reason landed the job. And so that was really, really lucky for me, but I definitely would attribute a lot of that success to landing the job because of the own learnings that I had done in my free time. So yeah, that is how I got my very first job in SEO marketing. So when I got hired, I was in a company whose culture was quite free. They were very happy to let you experiment with different things. It wasn't extremely structured, which was good and bad. And when I started working first week into that job, I realized that the reason I got hired was actually because the one person in there that knew about SEO was leaving the company in a month, and I was meant to take over that role like right away. So it was very intense in that month, and I was basically trained thoroughly how to implement SEO, how to do tracking, how to implement things on a client's website. That company in particular worked with a lot of small to medium businesses. And so the good thing about that was that we had the ability to get access to their website and implement changes directly. So that allowed us to get results for them faster and also allowed us to do a little bit more experimentation with their website. Whereas if you worked with an agency with bigger companies, you would have to go through a whole process of getting in touch with that company's marketing team, getting access to the website, and sometimes you might not even get access to their website. So you would have to advise and allow them to implement them on their own time, if at all. So I was very, very lucky to get a job that allowed me not only the freedom to learn different aspects of marketing, but I was also forced into a position where I had to learn very quickly. And as a result, I would not only teach myself SEO during the job, but I also go home and do extra training on my own. At the time, the company was also very reliant on sales through cold calls, and so they had a dedicated sales team where they would reach out to small business owners in the area through online directories and ask if they needed assistance with marketing, and that's how we got our sales. So a lot of our clients were small to medium businesses, like I said, and that was the reason why. So in a month, I basically knew as much as I could about SEO, and I was starting to take over the client work as well. Because the sales team was doing a killing and making sales, our SEO clientele grew from 3 to about 20, like a handful, to about 20 clients in the space of a month. So it was crazy time. I had to learn really fast, and I also was forced to take a lot of phone calls and speak to clients during that time. I was also having to train some new staff to help manage the huge workload that I had. And like I said, as a child, when I was growing up, I was extremely shy. I hated taking the phones. I hated doing phone calls. And so being forced to do it was a good thing in a way because it got me comfortable with using the phone really quickly, got me comfortable to training people really quickly. It taught me how to communicate confidently as well. And I was really lucky to be in a work environment where everyone was extremely supportive and they gave really constructive feedback on the work that you do. So by the end of a few months of that, I was the main SEO specialist in the company where I worked with all the clients. I was also kind of an account manager sometimes where I would speak to the clients and explain to them what we were doing and the results that we were getting for them. And I was also having to train my fellow colleagues to move. Some of them moved from a sales role to a support role like I am, and then I would train them how to speak to the clients that way. Anyway, a lot of shifting basically was happening, and we had to adapt really quickly. Now, during that period, another thing that we were doing was also trying to transition our sales model from cold calling to lead generation through running advertising. And so one way we were thinking of doing it was HubSpot. HubSpot is basically a customer relationship management system that also allows you to track the leads that you're generating, qualify those leads, and then convert all on that platform. So basically it was an all-in-one where you could see where your leads were coming from, so potential customers were coming from, whether or not they were a quality lead and whether or not their sales team should reach out to them. And there was a whole bunch of different automation processes you could set up within this platform to make the sales process a lot easier as well. And so when I first joined the company, HubSpot was not even in the company. We were looking into it. About a month into working with this company, my boss basically said, Clarinda, this is HubSpot. I want you to learn how to use HubSpot and implement it in this company for us. So once again, I was thrown into something that was extremely new to me, and I had to figure out how to do it for the company. And I'm very happy to say that it was a success. And by the end of my completion working with that company, they were fully dependent on HubSpot to run the entire business, and they generated leads through running Facebook ads and then qualifying them through HubSpot, which was all set up by me with the help of my colleagues, of course. So once again, that was a whole other journey that I had to go through in that company, and you could see that I was forced to grow really quickly. But I also had a great team around me. So, we had a really good copywriter that we then hired. We hired a designer. We had some really amazing web developers, and we all had a really good working relationship. So we put together ideas really quickly. And I was lucky to have a boss that trusted me to do what I thought was right for the company and for our clients, and a great team to support me as I was supporting them as well in their own roles. So I worked at that company for 3 years, and towards the end, we also had a new product where we would help companies, small to medium businesses, run Facebook ads, generate leads, and convert them into sales. It was just a simple package product it was kind of cookie cutter product that we would reproduce for all these new clients. And these new clients we were getting from our own Facebook ads strategy, which we implemented on Facebook and then through the HubSpot sales processes, which I had set up. So over the course of this time, I ended up learning a lot of different aspects of digital marketing. So that included search engine optimization, Google My Business, Facebook advertising, email marketing, lead generation, and sales conversions as well, and how to track all of this and maintain all of this. So as our company as well, we also had to keep ourselves up to date with digital marketing strategies, new trends, and implement them constantly on ourselves and our customers. It was basically a huge ball of experimentation, which we learned a lot from and developed really quickly as a company, because when we first started, we were depending on, when I first started, we were depending on cold calls. We only had one product, which was Google My Business. And we were starting to get into SEO, and now we were an agency that did all these different products for a lot of different clients. At the end of that time, I had worked with hundreds of different small to medium businesses, and it was a lot of experience in a very short amount of time, but it also gave me so much confidence to help working with my own clients. I was comfortable on the phone. I knew how to implement strategies. I knew how to answer questions from the customers confidently. So it was a huge growth for me personally. Because the company was changing so quickly, however, it was quite a hectic environment, and it got a little bit overwhelming towards the end. And at the same time, because the whole reason I had joined this company in the first place was because I wanted to learn how to do marketing for my own business, I still had that itch to want to start my own company. However, because I had been in that company for a while and my previous visa had expired, I was now tied to a work-sponsored visa with them, which came with a lot of restrictions with that visa. Basically, I was not allowed to earn an income outside of the company. I was not allowed to start my own business and earn an income, and I was not allowed to work for any other companies. And that visa I had for another 2 years, and that was from, I believe, 2019. So I was kind of stuck at that point, and I couldn't really leave if I wanted to stay in Australia for the long term. So at the end of 3 years, I had basically worked with hundreds of small to medium businesses and seen various businesses fail and thrive. And I noticed that there were certain patterns between these business owners that allowed them to survive and allowed them to fail. And I also saw that there was a gap between business owners who knew nothing about marketing and marketing agencies and marketing specialists. There was a certain amount of knowledge and mindset that these businesses didn't have that allowed them to work confidently with marketing agencies like the one that I had worked for or I was working for. I was really itching to start my own company as well, and I felt like I now had the knowledge and the skills to provide a service that would close that gap so that I could help business owners successfully launch a marketing campaign by themselves without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars with an agency. And I wanted to be able to do that. Now, in March 2020, a certain pandemic happened, and that affected Australia in a huge way, not because of the number of how severe it was in that country, but also because of the travel ban that they had in place. So in 2019, I had met my current boyfriend, Mike, and we were going really well. And in November 2019, we decided to move in together. In March 2020, we had been living in our new apartment for a few months, and he decided to go back to England to attend his sister's wedding for 2 weeks. Now, during that time, the travel ban in Australia was announced, and he was basically unable to come back into the country despite having a permanent home here and a cat, and despite having a work visa. So that was obviously very upsetting for the both of us because we were separated and we had no idea when we could meet again, because nobody was telling us whether or not the travel ban would be lifted anytime soon. And even now to this date, 30th January 2021, the travel ban is still in place, and there are still tons of people with valid visas stranded outside of Australia that are not able to come back into the country. So it's pretty serious, and personally for us, it definitely affected us because it led to us being separated for 6 months straight. So my partner was basically stuck in England, and I was in our shared apartment all by myself with my cat and with no end in sight. We just didn't know what to do. So by the end of 6 months, it was more than enough that, we didn't want to wait anymore. And so we decided that I would then cancel my visa and leave Australia for good. Now, this was a big decision for me because I had wanted to live permanently in Australia my entire life. And so this was just a whole flip being switched in my head to leave a country that I was working so hard. I worked for 7 years to stay in Australia and get permanent residency here, and now I am cancelling that opportunity to reunite with my partner. However, I knew that our relationship was definitely worth sticking for, and so we made that decision. So I spent the next month basically packing up my entire life, saying goodbye to all my friends, shipping my cat back to Singapore so that my family could take care of him, and basically getting ready to start a whole brand new life in England. Now, that is something I might not have done had we not had a plan on what to do moving forward. But because I always wanted to start my own business, I saw that as an opportunity for me to leave my visa, explore a new country, and also start building a business with the new skills that I had developed from my work experience in the last 3 years. Additionally, my partner had always had the dream of traveling around Europe in a van, and so we decided to do that as well. And so at the moment, this is why we are currently converting a camper van so that we can move around Europe for 2 years while working remotely in the van. And so when I left the country, basically within the first month, because of all the skills that I developed, I started reaching out to my network to look for some clients that I could work for, and landed 3 clients in the first month of my new freelance role. And I was lucky enough to have clients that were really amazing. They knew what my expectations were, and I knew what their expectations were, and we just worked really well together. So I got these clients from a mix of my network through LinkedIn, and I also got some work through Upwork. And I basically also taught myself how to optimize my Upwork profile so that I could get the clients that I was looking for as well. Now, this was all well and good. And so for that first few months, I was basically just working with a few clients, but I wanted something more. I wanted a business that could scale, and that was always my plan. My plan was always to have a business that I could scale so that I could spend less time on it while it continues to generate income and have a basically automated process so that I'm pretty much more hands-off, while still being able to provide really valuable information to these clients. So I then I invested in a consulting program, coaching program where I would learn how to be able to scale my businesses, and that is currently where I'm at the moment. So right now what I'm doing is I am working with a few clients at the rate that I mentioned at the beginning, for the USD per hour on average. And I'm also building a consulting program with a few beta clients that I've now built relationships with to test out whether this program is good. Eventually, I want to be turning this into an evergreen online course where I can teach lots of small businesses how to put together their own marketing strategy while only spending about 5 hours a week implementing marketing on their business, maybe even less. So this is where I'm at the moment. And my long-term plan is basically to be able to keep traveling with my partner, eventually still buy a house and earn enough income so that I can retire by the age of 35. Now, I know this all seems very ambitious, but I truly think that it is possible. And I am currently documenting my journey on my Instagram account. And if you're interested in following that, you can just feel free to follow me, send me a DM and let me know how you found me as well. I'd love to know. But I am documenting my business journey on there. And basically, this is how I've become a digital marketing freelancer. I still currently get not a lot, but I still get consistent requests to work with potential clients as a strategist and consultant. But right now, I am trying to focus on building my consulting program. So I'm not really taking on any done-for-you clients at the moment. But this is where I'm at, and I currently have some consistent income for these amazing clients that I'm currently working with, and I am also working towards scaling my business. So hopefully this whole very long-winded story has been helpful to some of you, and if you have any questions about how you can also become a digital marketing freelancer or specialist like me, please feel free to reach out via the comments down on YouTube, or you can find me on Instagram and DM me over there. I'd be happy to help. But anyway, I thought this would be a good introduction video to my brand new YouTube channel. It's going to be a hobby for me and not really a marketing strategy of any sort. I just thought maybe I could help provide some free information to anyone who's thinking of getting into digital marketing as well. And if anyone has any questions about this route that I've taken, hopefully I can create some videos on any questions that I find really common. And so the whole point of me telling you that this is a hobby is because I just want to let you know that my video quality won't be great, my sound quality won't be great, I don't have the equipment for that, but my content will hopefully be very valuable to you. So once again, any questions, ask me. I'll make a video about it. I also have a website. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link down in the description below. And if any of you are a small business owner and you're trying to grow your business, I do have some beta client slots open for my consulting program. I have all the information about that available, and I will put that in the link as a link in the description below as well. And if you have jumped on this video for any chance the 2 viewers that I potentially will have, please comment below and introduce yourself so that I can learn more about you and connect with you maybe in the long time. That being said, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you enjoyed the tips that I've provided. Not really the tips, but the way that I became a digital marketing freelancer, and hopefully it inspires you to do the same. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one, wherever that is. Bye!